Hello, my name is Kaan Kara, and in this video, I will talk about my gamer motivation profile. In this profile, there are 6 main titles, each of them formed by 2 components, and this is supposed to show your gamer profile after you answer some questions. As you see, I took the survey, and this is the result I got. But I wonder, is this really how my profile looks like? Can this survey actually guess my profile correctly? Like it says 98% action or 17% mastery, etc. But are these numbers really correct or even close? So to figure that out, we're going to take a look at these components, we're going to compare them with a game I really like, and we're going to see if this profile is actually reflecting my motivations or not. So without further ado, let's get started. The game I chose for this video is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. It's one of my favorite video games, but that's not the only reason I chose it for the video. We will see the reason later on. Okay, so let's start with action components. Here it says, gamers with high action scores are aggressive and like to jump in the fray, which is absolutely true for me. I like skill-based combat, and I like it even more when the tempo is high. And Sekiro is just that kind of a game. In combat, if you're not careful even for a moment, the punishment might be too severe. Or quote from the game, hesitation is defeat.
赤炉忘れるでないぞ迷えば敗れるそれが戦よ
I am fine with this. I like these kind of games. I like action, so the action score is correct. Another really high percentage, the social components. It says here that if you score high on these components, it means that you like collaborating or competing with other players. These components don't really apply to Sekiro, since Sekiro is a single-player game, but I like collaborating with other players, especially if they're my friends. And I like competition even more. I like to know that I am better than my opponent. So the percentages are true. But what bothers me is that it says gamers with low social scores prefer solo gaming experiences where they can be independent. Now, my score is really high. If that means that I don't prefer single-player games, this is extremely wrong. Because the games I like the most are single-player games, just like Sekiro. So I think this is an, if not false, a deficient statement. You can't just say that and get away with it. Let's continue with the achievement components. Again, these components don't really apply to Sekiro, since Sekiro doesn't really have collectibles or very strong items and stuff. The only achievement you can grind for would be to kill all the bosses or something. So you can't really play the game for max achievement in this context. But let's talk about the percentage anyway. Well, it's a little higher than it should be. The power component talks about grinding to be powerful in the game world. I would do this, but only if I really enjoy the experience of being in that game's world. So something around 60% should be correct. And the completion component talks about completing every mission, finding every collectible, discovering every possible hidden location. To be honest, I have never done this so far, and I don't think I will ever do it. I don't think how I got this 46%, but it's wrong. It should be way lower than this. I don't even care completing every single possible thing. I just care about the experience the game has to offer. So next is the creativity components. The discovery component talks about constantly asking what if, and Sekiro is a game you should absolutely do that, because you will probably have to deal with regular enemies by avoiding or killing them before getting to the boss. This process of dealing with regular enemies can get really annoying after you do all that work only to get wiped out by the boss. And given that the routines the enemies follow and their attack patterns are the same, maybe if you ask yourself, what if instead of doing this, I do that, and you try it and maybe you will find a different and a better approach to deal with them. Of course, the same thing applies to the bosses as well. Maybe you ask yourself, what if, and try a different strategy to see how that works. So I think 55% should be agreeable, and the design component is also agreeable. I like the idea of accepting what is given to you when I'm playing. Like in Sekiro, your character is a samurai and you can't change the way your character looks. But that's fine with me because I accept the fact that my character exists separate from my tastes. Like, if my character is wearing that outfit, there's a reason he was given that outfit. If the outfit colors are like that, there's a reason those colors were chosen. Same thing applies to all the attributes of my character's appearance. I think accepting the characters the way they are is a part of the experience the game is offering. So 5% for design is fair to me. And now, emerging components. 93% is really high, but I would argue it should be even higher. As a player and a game designer, I think the story is what makes the video games an art. I mean, sure, I could still enjoy a great game without a story, but that's it. I would just enjoy it. Only if it had a story, it could make an impact on me. Like, I would enjoy playing as a samurai, killing my enemies. But what if the samurai had a reason to fight? And even better, what if the enemies also had a reason to fight the samurai? I think that's what creates the real gaming experience, which the game world takes the player in. So, a really high percentage for emerging components are correct for me. Okay, lastly, we have the mastery components. I think this is the most interesting result I got, and it's also the reason why I chose Sekiro. Now, I really like Souls-like games and hack and slash games, because as I mentioned earlier, I like skill-based, high-tempo combat. And this challenge component says, the ones who score high on this component enjoy playing games that rely heavily on skill and ability. Okay, that's me. That's the reason why I like Sekiro. Then it continues. They are persistent and take the time to practice and hone their gameplay. Okay, still me. Still Sekiro. They want gameplay that constantly challenges them. That is me, and that is why I like Sekiro. I'm talking about a Souls-like game being my favorite, and this thing even gave Dark Souls as an example. So, what is this 20%? The only thing I don't relate with in this paragraph is that I don't play games on the highest difficulty, because I like the combat and the story balanced. But the rest of the paragraph is literally who I am as a gamer, and you give me 20%? This is ridiculous. And I think the strategy component is also wrong. Now, I don't really like strategy-based games, like the ones given as an example here. But does that mean I don't like strategy at all? In Sekiro, you have to come up with a strategy to kill the bosses. You watch them, learn their attack patterns, and you come up with an optimal way to approach them so you can finally kill them. Isn't this process just creating and following a strategy? I like it when games allow you to do that. But I don't see what I'm talking about specified in this paragraph. So I'm not gonna argue that my strategy score is 22% in the context of this paragraph. But if you say strategy, you can't just limit yourself with this paragraph. Strategy goes beyond what you're talking about here. I think you need more than one type of strategy component because I don't think this reflects me at all. So overall, 17% for the mastery components are a total disappointment. So overall, I don't think this survey reflects my gamer motivation profile correctly. I mean, it got some of the components right, but also some of the components are really open-ended. And because these mastery components were insanely inaccurate for me, I wouldn't trust this thing. That's my conclusion. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.